Welcome to Signal 1, Protecting and Prioritizing Wellness and Resilience. Our mission is to provide an insightful platform that delves into the critical work of the Connecticut State Police. Through engaging discussions and interviews, we aim to shed light on the tireless efforts of our dedicated professionals and promoting education that focuses on the mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness of our members. Join us, striving to enhance understanding and fostering a healthier, more resilient first responder.
Thank you for tuning in our first podcast episode here, number 1. We're going to bring you some interesting topics here from the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. It is my privilege to interview and introduce to many of you our Commissioner Higgins. Sir, thank you so much for stepping into this podcast and allowing us to interview you and get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you for having me.
And certainly thank you for getting behind this initiative and this project.
Absolutely.
Here you are a couple of months in the hot seat, as they call it. You came into our agency in some turmoilish kind of times. We hit some bumps in the road. We're recovering from some shadows of the past. You and I both know, sir, that people always could do our job better when they're not in our seat. We see it in professional sports. We call it the Monday morning quarterbackers.
Sure.
We see it in politics. There's always a non-physician that could do the physician's job better. Can you give us a glimpse of your day-to-day? So most people think that you're only the commissioner of one division, Connecticut State Police.
Yeah.
You're juggling 6 giant bowling balls, not even tennis balls. Give us a glimpse of what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah. Wow, Rodney, that's a great question, and I love your analogy of bowling ball versus tennis balls. So my day begins at about 5 a.m. I'm in the gym getting a quick workout in because before I give everything I have to this agency and to the state of Connecticut and to my family, I have to pay myself. So I get in the gym. While I'm in the gym, I'm checking emails, I'm checking text messages from the overnight. I'm also looking at headlines. I'm looking at headlines from the news, what's happening in Connecticut, what's happened in the last 24 hours. And then upon arrival at work, the day begins. You know, each day there's a new priority. Whether it's CSP, whether it's Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, DESPP, each day there's a new priority. Something comes up. I am fortunate to have an amazing team where we not only prioritize, but we strategize on how we're going to address issues. Some are ongoing matters that we're dealing with and we're trying to resolve, but some things need your attention right away. So each and every day there's a constant triage. Some things are set, our schedules are set, but then there are things that come up that we have to deal with. So we have to be agile. We can't come in and say, no, I'm doing this today, and that's all I'm doing. It doesn't work that way. The phone rings, you receive a text message, you receive an email, or there's a problem somewhere. So we have to be agile, and we have to be able to just be able to address those things that come up.
I remember, sir, when I was growing up, I was probably no more than 4 years old. I was sitting in the back of my dad's 1978 Golden Cars, my favorite car. I remember a 1978 Ford, cross him and sit in front of him. And in the back, there was a giant placard that said State Trooper. In my tender age of 4, I told my mom, I want to be a state police first, then I want to be a state trooper. Not knowing that was one and the same.
Yeah.
I remember that vehicle pulling over, and this guy popped out his car. To me, he appeared to be 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
He put this giant hat on that looked like a parachute, and he was glistering from head to toe. I saw excellence then that drew me to say, that's my goal. That's what I want to be. But I understood later on in my adult years, and then coming into this agency, that there are a lot of intricate working parts that build to that standard of excellence. I've heard you say, sir, multiple times in interviews and in letters that you sent out, that your motto is the standard of excellence. What does excellence look for DESPP?
Wow, that's a great question, Rodney. No one aspires to mediocrity. And one of the things that I found, not just within the Connecticut State Police, but within all the divisions, is that they want to do their absolute best. What I have found since I arrived is that Connecticut State Police and all 5 other divisions have very good policies, hardworking people. My job as the commissioner is to make certain that they have what they need in terms of resources, what they need in terms of support, and what they need in terms of motivation to make them want to continue to do more. They want to aspire. People I've talked to are looking to do better. So when we talk about excellence, I'm thinking about where we are now, measuring where we are right now as an agency across the board, and determining how it is that we're going to reach the next level. My job is to provide a vision and then set some things in place so that we can achieve excellence. Now, one will say, well, Commissioner, you still haven't defined what excellence is. Excellence for each one of the divisions is measured differently. Excellence with the Connecticut State Police, let's talk about that for a second. People have heard me talk about a blueprint for excellence, okay? A blueprint for excellence. I've looked at policies, I've looked at people, I've looked at all the different things that make the agency function. And we're in a really good place right now, but success is never final, okay? And as you shared when you open up, the agency has taken some lumps in the media, and Monday morning quarterbacking, or behaviors that probably could have been better. There's some things that we need to work on. A blueprint for excellence is identifying where we are and what the needs are, and then developing a plan to achieve success in all those areas. For instance, I look at recruitment and outreach. CSP is doing an amazing job with recruitment and outreach. When I look at DEMIS, when I look at how they are helping the state of Connecticut prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters, man-made or otherwise, they're doing a heck of a job. But again, success is never final. So I see the blueprint of excellence helping those agencies commit to continuous improvement, giving them not only the resources, but the vision. Okay, looking at other models that are out there, benchmarking with other states to see how they've achieved success, so that we can bring back those most best, those most promising, and those emerging practices and apply them right here in the state of Connecticut. That is how we will achieve excellence.
That's pretty exciting for me, sir, just coming into my 18 and a half years on this job. So success is not linear. We're not going to get there overnight.
No.
And so in your opinion or observation, what are those internal or even external barriers that will limit us from arriving to that sooner rather than later?
Wow. Rodney, in terms of internal barriers, we need to work, or we need to focus on reducing barriers, or reducing silos. I've used that term as well. And what that means is people working together around a common goal. There's a lot of overlap I see in some divisions. And oftentimes, we have a lane and we want to stay in our lane and we don't want others to get in our lane. We're duplicating efforts. So we need to start to be more open to cross-pollination, or better yet, working together. External barriers. In terms of external barriers, I see a lot of, and I've heard from a lot of partners throughout the state of Connecticut, other state agencies, who want to work with DESPP. We need to be more accessible as an agency. I'm not talking about the individual relationships that exist. We need to invite people in, or better yet, meet them where they are, and simply say, how can we work together? I think we do a really good job doing with that, working on individual levels and on unit levels. There's many good stories. But as an agency, I have heard from our external partners that they really don't know how, I shouldn't say they don't know how, but they desire they desire to work more closely with DESPP. So the commissioner or the commissioner's office cannot and should not be the front door. Each and every individual should be empowered to want to and to work with different agencies throughout the state of Connecticut where it makes sense.
Absolutely. Connecticut State Police is your biggest division.
It is.
Yes. We handle a lot of scrutinized decision making.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of shadows, a lot of dark clouds that follow this particular division.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's brought upon us, and sometimes it's not our fault, not fault of our own.
Mm-hmm.
Post-COVID policing so much different now than pre-COVID policing.
Mm-hmm.
You have lawmakers, policies, you name it. Everything is changing for us. Some people say our hands are being tied.
Mm-hmm.
Other people are saying we're finally being held, or they're finally being held to accountability. All of this is taking a toll on the men and women that wear that uniform day in and day out.
Mm.
There's a big umbrella now called officer wellness and safety to ensure that the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual state of all of our men and women are second to none. What is your understanding, or what is your philosophy on officer wellness and safety?
Sure. So first, let me say we have been here before in this country. And what I mean by that is after the riots in the 60s, Lyndon B. Johnson commissioned what was termed the Kerner Commission, and he came out with the Kerner Report, and he brought to the table elected officials, academics, policing experts. He brought together a multidisciplinary group to talk about how policing in America could be improved. The country was not in a good way at the time, and that was evidenced by the riots in LA, Detroit, New York, all over the country. There was summer of riots. And he came out with the Kerner Report. And the Kerner Report put forth recommendations on how to improve policing and police training in the United States of America. Fast forward, 2014, 2015, President Obama, he commissioned the Task Force on 21st Century Policing. The difference between Obama's report and the Kerner Commission report is Obama's report, pillar number 6, which probably, arguably, could have been pillar number 1, Rodney, was officer safety and wellness. That was the first time in probably over 50 plus years that officer safety and wellness was recognized as a strategic pillar for us to go forward in this country and for us to improve policing. My philosophy around officer wellness is, first of all, people are our most important resource. People. We have to take care of people, first and foremost. The second thing that I've learned in my time is that hurt people may hurt people. And hurt and pain is internalized. It can't be seen all the time. And we have to take care of those individuals who have chosen to run in when others are running out. We have to take care of those individuals, yourself and otherwise, all of us, who have sworn to protect and serve and lay down our life for someone who we don't even know. But at the same time, recognizing that there is a social contract in this country, so there's a lot of scrutiny, which has led to increased accountability. I am really pleased to see what the Connecticut State Police has done with its STOPS program. That's one of the first things I looked at. You all have, it's a model program, and I don't just say that because I'm here and I'm sitting in front of you. I really am impressed about what you all are doing. But I just think that we need to continue to be agile. And I believe the STOPS program is agile. I believe that peer support is so important. And, you know, one of the things that police chiefs talk about all the time are the challenges with employees, especially our newer or younger, less experienced employees who may have difficulty dealing with some of the challenges of the job. Okay, we came up during the time you had, you were the youngest of six. I had three brothers, so we have some experiences that others may not have had, and that made us who we are. So the way that we approach our work may be different than how some others approach their work based on the way they were raised and based on the experiences that they have. We have to account for all that. When I use the term "hurt people may hurt people," I'm not I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about verbally. You know, uh, how we show up and how we communicate is an outward, oftentimes can be an outward manifestation of how we're feeling, And people aren't calling the police because they're having a great day. People are calling the police because they're in need. And although it may be a routine call, if there is one, for that trooper that's responding, it can be the worst day of that person's life that you're responding to.
Absolutely. And in the grand scheme of officer wellness and safety, how important is that for you?
Extremely important. Extremely important. One of the questions that I ask the colonel on a regular basis when he's briefing me on something or sharing information with me is, how's the trooper? How's the trooper? I'll share with you, Rodney. You know, traffic fatalities has been in the news a lot, and we're doing a good job. Stopped over 10,000 cars this year, over 245 DUI stops or operating under the influence stops. That's a good thing, but it isn't lost on me that for every fatality, there's the initial responding troopers and other first responders, and then members of the CARS unit that have to come out and investigate. Rodney, those troopers can't unsee what they've seen. They can't unexperience what they've experienced. So I'm very concerned. Um, I'm very concerned about their well-being, and I want to make certain that we're doing all we can to support them.
Sir, and oftentimes you've always pulled on those that have been doing the job of like peer support or wellness, et cetera, already in our agency. And we're so grateful that you're always open to fresh ideas or recommendations or suggestions. But if I could just ask you, what would be your vision for officer safety and wellness?
Wow. My vision for officer safety and wellness. Well, I think that oftentimes we're get it done people, right? We're get it done people. So we respond to something, we deal with what we have to deal with in the moment, and we move on. I believe that there's tremendous value in sharing in some way about that experience and what was done to achieve success in that moment, in how to cope with it afterwards. I believe there's tremendous value in sharing that or those experiences with less experienced officers or less experienced troopers. It's not easy, and not everybody's going to want to share. But for those individuals who are willing to share, I do believe that it can be enriching. It can be enriching to those less experienced troopers to hear from a more seasoned trooper so that they realize that they're not an outlier, they're not alone, and others before them have had to deal with the same things. And that's probably happening. In fact, I would venture to say it is happening on an informal basis. But my vision would be to formalize that informal process.
Wow. I've never heard that before, so that's encouraging, and that's illuminating. What, and then we talked about barriers earlier, but what are probably some of those barriers then to really come full force for officer wellness and safety?
Well, Well, let's face it. I mean, we I myself, we don't want to talk. We don't want to talk about what we do, what we've seen, what we've experienced, and how it's impacted us at home, and how it's impacted how we feel about this job, about this work. I, for one, you mentioned, accountability. You mentioned all that has happened during and post COVID. There's a lot of people who have chosen to retire, chose to hang it up. They don't want to serve anymore. They don't feel that the job appreciates them anymore. That's a problem. That's a problem. Um, we're safer, but no, we are safest together.
Yes.
We are safest together. So beginning with that premise that we are safer or safest together, when we talk about officer safety and wellness, I think we have to co-produce the outcome of safety for both the officers and for the communities that we serve. So what does that look like? What that means is us meeting people where they are, hearing them, allowing them to have voice, and at the same time, while we're meeting people where they are, us, the police, the troopers having voice and sharing their experiences as well. And I've traversed this state in a very, very short period of time. And whether you're in one of the urban cities or out east or north, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to be safe. How safety is achieved in any of those areas, it's localized. It's really up to the individuals who are in uniform, serving those communities to meet their community members where they are, and to share and also to be heard. I'm sorry, to be heard and to also hear from the community so that they can be on common ground and everybody knows what to expect. Rodney, one of the things that I also I found when I first arrived and took over as commissioner is we talk about efforts in recruitment and for policing throughout the state of Connecticut and within the Connecticut State Police. I'm also finding that we're also struggling to recruit for firefighters in the state of Connecticut. Fun fact, there are more volunteer firefighters in the state of Connecticut than there are career firefighters. But either way, we need to also focus on fire. Police and fire are working side by side. Okay, so we need to really make an effort to encourage young people and people who are considering a second career. I've talked to a lot of people who are considering a second career or a mid-career change for police and fire. Um, the Division of Scientific Services, Dr. Valero and his team are doing some cutting edge work right here in the state of Connecticut to support our crime reduction efforts and to hold people accountable for committing some of the most heinous crimes in the state of Connecticut. I am very concerned about the number of overdoses, and I'm concerned about fentanyl. But I think we're making a lot of progress in the reduction of violent crime in the state of Connecticut. As I said before, though, success is never final. The Division of Scientific Services is really in the background supporting our efforts with their turnaround on Touch DNA. They are really in the background supporting efforts of police across the Connecticut with the introduction of NIBIN. In the state of Connecticut, and the NIBIN kiosks. So we're doing some amazing, amazing things. Clayton Northgraves, who manages the Division of Statewide Emergency Telecommunications, and what that means is that all the PSAPs, the public safety answering points in the state of Connecticut, they are our customers. He's doing an amazing job making certain that they all come on the state network so that we're all integrated and can talk to one another and can serve our communities as best we can.
Yeah, shout out to both of those divisions because they're the unsung heroes that kind of help us tie in all the loose ends.
They are.
Big. Sir, could you tell us something that we don't know about you? I know we kind of opened up and just talked a little bit, but something that you would think that's kind of like in all of our minds.
Oh boy.
Does he really have like a bass tuner where he turns it up and turns it down?
Yeah, no. I did play 2 years of college ball at Western Connecticut. Quick fun fact about me. I was recruited by a number of Division I and Division II schools out of high school. I had letters coming to my house from all over the country. I was doing my thing, but in 1989, that was the first year the NCAA instituted a rule called Proposition 48. And Proposition 48 said that you have to have a 2.0, a C average, in order to play Division 1A or Division 1AA sports. My senior year, I had a lot of fun. Wasn't very focused on academics. So I just fell just below that 2.0 upon graduation. So I was subject to Proposition 48. I was an eyelash away from going to a prep school called Milford Academy. But at the very last minute, a football coach by the name of Chris Rippon, who went on to coach for Syracuse, came to visit me and convinced me to play at Western Connecticut State University. He says, as a Division III player, you can play right away. And I did. I played right away. So it was a good time.
How did those bumps in the road, how did that define you? How did that refine you? I'm sorry.
How much time do we have? Boy, it both defined and refined me at the same time, because I believed that anything that happened to me, I caused myself. So in other words, me not being able to play Division I or 1AA football, that was because of decisions I made. I went on to play ball at WestCon, but my decision to move off campus into the football house and frankly party more than I studied was a decision that I made that impacted me. So I found myself experiencing setbacks. But when you have a setback, you have a decision to make. You're either, in my opinion, set back and you're back behind the eight ball, or you have to catch up. I'm one that believes, okay, this may be a setback, but I will catch up, and I will pick myself up and I will march on. So that is what I did. So it taught me again how to overcome and not make the same mistakes over and over again.
If we could fast forward now, let's say however amount of years, and then we're at the end of your career here, the end of your journey with us as the commissioner of DESPP. What is it that you want to be remembered by?
I want to be remembered as someone who is a professional, who listened to Hartford, but also listened to those who are on the roads doing the job. Listen to the folks in the cubicles and fiscal. Listen to everybody. Someone who truly listened. Learned the things that needed to be learned, and then led by putting a plan in place to improve the quality of life of those individuals who are working within DESPP and the state of Connecticut and the citizens for the state of Connecticut. Just like yourself, when you told the story about being in a car and you seeing that trooper, and right then and there, you knew what you wanted to be. My dad was a New Haven police officer.
Wow.
And when I saw my dad getting dressed, buttoning that shirt, and going to work every day as a little kid, I knew from day one what I wanted to be. So my dad is my hero. My dad was a police officer, and I have tremendous respect for the police. And I want to be a great leader, not just for the Division of Emergency Services and Public Protection, but I also want to be an example of how an agency can go from good to great, no matter what anybody says. I also want to set an example of how a leader can set the stage of how to take an agency from good to great post-pandemic.
That's awesome. Well, Commissioner, we are excited in the direction that the agency is going as a whole. I know that as I travel the state and come in contact with troops and units, I think we're all feeling a new second wind in us to continue to fight and make sure that at the end of our career, we are known for the same staple, and remembered by that same standard. We thank you for this time, but what I do want to share, sir, is that I can tell the level of passion that you bring in every day. I've watched you kind of browse the building or even on stages and in interviews, and I can tell that there is a sincerity in that. So thank you for taking this charge, and thank you for leading us into this next chapter of DESPP. I appreciate your time with us this morning.
Thank you, Rodney. Take care.
Thank you, sir.